Hey, Nate Madsen here with another Quickie, and this one's going to talk about two things, and I'm going to use my song Ruben's Vibe from Skatebird as an example. The first thing I would like to talk about is how to be creative with your automation, and secondly, some cool uses of drum loops. Coming up next. Okay, so hope everyone's doing well. Let's just jump right in. This is Ruben's Vibe, and first things first, I'm going to talk about automation. Okay, so first thing I want to show you is a way that I like to do a tremolo effect. You think about tremolo having that filter and that repetition, and it's just going through wow, 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 wow. You can change the speed and the depth of it. So those are great. I love tremolo plugins. They're really nice for like a little bit of a mood and swing and effect to a sound. But one of the problems with it is you set it and you forget it, if you think of Ronco. Sometimes I like to do tremolo type effects that change over time, that change based on other things happening in the track. So the way I do it here, doing it manually, I just make a slope here, and then I go in, set this to touch. Now there's going to be some latency because whenever I record video and audio from the DAW, it always has a latency, so it's going to be a little bit off, but alright, so what I did there, you can see, zoom in a little bit more, you can see how I'm writing it. It's not doing constant, it's doing a little ba ya ya boom. Yeah, it's doing a little trade-off there. Let's listen to it in context. Turn it back to read. Now it's pretty hard here, so let's go to volume and turn that up. Let's bypass it. Here it is without. Hear how it just sits. Bum, bum. There's nothing wrong with it, but if you want to add a little more movement to it, and the other thing I really like about this approach is, unlike a tremolo, it's not going to be precise. The timing of it, because I'm a human, I think, the timing of it and the depth of the slopes, they're all going to be a little bit different. You can just see the numbers. Up to 745, 610, 830, 945, 820, 695, 1380, 1570. It's fluctuating. It's imperfect. And so that gives a little more humanizing groove to it. Now, what made me start thinking about this approach was a jazz ensemble. I played in a jazz combo for years and years and years. And when you're messing around, the drummer's doing something, and maybe the bass player picks up on that and they change their groove a little bit, which makes the piano player hear what the drummer and the bassist are doing, and so they change your comping a little bit, and this is all reacting to something perhaps the trumpet solo did or the saxophone solo did. It's very organic and it's very interconnected. So if you do stuff like this, where maybe this rhythm is playing off of something else in the track, it makes your piece feel more cohesive. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. Explore options where you can do that. One more application of that would be up here. I have a slider A and a slider B. This is all from the movement, which is from output. That's all from the movement plugin. And you see this thing is moving. One thing I like to do with the movement plugin is sometimes already have it in motion before the sound even starts. So, and you can see this is, if I take this away, these are where the stabs are happening. This is just a sample that I took that I repitched, and then I'm adding some reverb and I'm adding some of this effects to it. Now this is nuance. It's not like cartoony level over slapping you in the face type of effects, but it's changing. Notice the slope. Notice the overall shape. And over here, they're smaller and they're faster. Let's fast forward to that. Oops. I'm using a different part of the sample, and I'm also changing the effect. And then I go back to here. And again, just like with the same thing I showed you with the electric piano, where I was putting that in, the amount and the timing of the automation is changing because I'm writing these in real time. So if you go through and you approach that, and there's a reason why. Let's just look at the first 9 bars. Sorry, first 18 bars. 16 bars. I can't do math. Math is hard. So when you're doing the slow slopes, this is more introduction. The comping of the electric keyboard's not in. The piano's not really in for the first half. It's kind of hinting and starts to build a bit more here. You have a guitar that comes in about 5 bars in. And the bass is still doing the same thing, drums is doing the same thing. And so as more of the melody and more of the instruments come in for the section from 9 to 16, this effect is changing. And what's playing here is also changing. Changes here. That boop, boop, just way up there, if I go right next to it, it's no longer doing this thing. It's almost like an interplay, a tree hole, if you will, in between what the piano's doing and everything else. Because the piano is really taking charge here with that little movement up. I just played that in live. That feels very classical to me. That's one thing I like about this piece, is it almost feels like a Debussy. Pretty dreamy. All right, so when you're going through and you're looking at your automation, the second point, or sub point to this automation thing, is look for your arrangement. Look for spots where you can make smart choices about, okay, I'm going to change this here because it's going to give more space for the melody, or it's going to give more evolution to the track overall. All right, last little thing I want to show you is this. I'm talking about being smart with the drums. Quick sampler, freaking awesome. I use this all over Skateboard. And if I go here, this is the drum loop. And I have this copied over multiple times because I'm using different things and putting different effects to each part of the drum. Here's how it sounds just dry. This is just a drum loop that I got from Splice. Okay, so first off, it's at 80 BPM, we're at 120. So we change the tempo. Let's listen to it one more time. When I found that, I was like, okay, I can use this. But here's what I'm using. This is just the first level of the drums. Okay, different groove. I'm just using one little part of it. Let's look at the next one. This is the snare. I wanted a little more delay and reverb and on that, so that's just one reason it's copied over. I didn't necessarily want that on this track. Let's hear the two together. So already we're creating quite a different groove from the source material. And then here is the other thing. Just that little groove. Let's hear all three together. All right, very, very different. If I open this back up again, very, very different from this. This is the alone one. This is the shuffle one. So I'm using two different source samples, but you can tell They sound quite a bit different once they're put through. And then finally, here's the last little bit. This has a little bit of effects on it from the movement, which is not being automated, by the way. And then finally over here, this drum. The pattern change. So if you look at the high level of this track, we have intro here. Let me take out the solo. Intro here, 1 through 5, basically. Or 1 through 9. And then you have the statement of the melody, and things change a little bit. Then percussion changes quite a bit during this middle section. And then this final section is kind of returned to A. So A, B, A. But now you have this new element here, this new pattern, this drum, which was not with these. Also the snare that was happening, the pattern here. If you go over here, the snare is no longer, that hit is no longer happening in the snare. Instead I have this. So what I'm trying to show you kind of in a long-winded way is go through, change some things. I'm convinced one of the things that makes tracks boring when you listen to them, to some of the tracks, is not enough evolution and growth. And these don't have to be huge changes. They can be minute, they can be pretty nuanced, but you go through and you change little fills right here, you change little grooves, little sounds, that kind of thing. It can add a lot and let your listener go on a journey with you with that song. I hope that's helpful. Hope you like that. And stick around for the next one. Take care.